Our world is facing some truly massive challenges right now. I mean, they're huge, they're all tangled together, and they're just incredibly complex. We're talking about the very systems that our lives depend on.
Just think about our cities. They're swelling with people, and as they get bigger, they're becoming more and more vulnerable to the crazy effects of climate change. Urban planners are basically in a race against the clock, trying to make our cities more resilient. And at the very same time, we've got this other huge problem. How do we feed a global population that just keeps on growing? And it's not just about making more food, we have to do it sustainably, managing things like soil and water with a kind of precision we've just never had before. And then, underneath all of that, there's our critical infrastructure. The power grids, the water networks, all of it. These systems are literally the lifeblood of our society. Keeping them running is a monumental task. So the question is, what if there was a tool that could help us see all these problems in a totally new way? Okay, let's get into it. That new tool, that new lens is Geospatial AI, or GeoAI for short. Now, I know it sounds complicated, but it's really what you get when you smash two really powerful technologies together. Let's break that down.
So first up, you've got the geo part. This comes from something called Geographic Information Systems, or GIS. The easiest way to think about it, GIS is like the ultimate map maker. It's the tech that captures and analyzes all kinds of data based on its location. It's the thing that answers the question, where?
And then, of course, you've got the AI. Artificial intelligence gives computers the ability to learn, to reason, and, most importantly for what we're talking about, to spot patterns in absolutely enormous piles of data. We're talking patterns a human being could just never spot on their own. Okay, so here's where the magic happens. You take the where from GIS and you combine it with the incredible pattern-finding power of AI. What do you get? You get GeoAI. It's a super simple equation, but the results are, well, they're incredible. And this is what that looks like in the real world. GeoAI can take all that raw location data from a city, every single building, every street, and use its intelligence to analyze what's happening, predict how things will change, and help us manage it all so much better. It's almost like giving the city a brain. All right, so that's the theory, right? But where is this stuff actually making a difference? Let's look at a few real-world examples. What's so cool about this is how GeoAI makes the invisible visible. So on the left, you've got South Africa, where it's being used to automatically map informal settlements from satellite pictures. This gives city planners the data they desperately need to provide services. And then on the right, it's helping officials in Guatemala spot illegal garbage dumps from the air, which is huge for protecting the environment and people's health. And get this, the jump in efficiency is just mind-blowing. There's this tool called Beam that mapped over 1.5 million buildings in a city in South Africa, something that would have taken months, maybe even years, done in 72 hours. And in Cape Town, it took the mapping of backyard dwellings from just 2% coverage to almost 100%. But it's not just about mapping what's already there, It's about looking into the future and predicting risks. Take Barcelona. They're using GeoAI to build what they call a climate vulnerability map. It actually points out which buildings and neighborhoods are most at risk during a crazy heat wave. That lets the city step in and protect its most vulnerable people before disaster strikes. That's a total game changer for adapting to climate change. It's also completely changing how we move around our cities. In New York City, a GeoAI model got 44% better at predicting where ride-hailing services would be needed. Think about what that means. Fewer cars just sitting around, less traffic, and a smaller carbon footprint for the whole city. And it's not just for cities. Out in the fields, GeoAI is analyzing satellite data to understand crop health and soil conditions. This lets it give farmers super precise recommendations for everything from which seeds to plant to how much fertilizer to use. It's making farming way more productive and a whole lot more sustainable. So, okay, GeoAI sounds pretty perfect, right? It's fast, it's smart, it gives us these incredible insights. But like any powerful tool that we humans build, it's got a potential flaw, and it's a really big one. So we have to ask ourselves a tough question. What if the data we're feeding these systems is flawed? What if it reflects old, unfair patterns? What happens when an AI learns from a biased picture of our world? To really get this, let's look at a pretty famous example you might remember. A few years back, people noticed that Twitter's photo cropping algorithm was consistently choosing to show white faces over black faces. Now, the goal wasn't malicious. The AI was just trained to find what it thought was important in a picture. but the result was a clear bias that came directly from its training data.
Okay, so now take that exact same risk and apply it to GeoAI. As this source points out, we're already seeing audits of crime prediction tools that can end up just reinforcing existing discrimination. And when you're talking about things like public safety and who gets access to services, the stakes of getting this wrong are incredibly high.
So the answer here isn't to just throw the technology away, right? The point is to build guardrails. And the good news is, experts and regulators are already hard at work on frameworks and real solutions to make sure GeoAI is used responsibly. One of the big ways to do this is through regulation, like the EU's Big AI Act. You can see here how it specifically calls out high-risk uses for GeoAI, things like managing critical infrastructure or predictive policing. By flagging these, it forces companies to build in safety features, like human oversight from the very beginning.
And hey, it's not just about rules and regulations. The tech community itself is building the tools to fix this. We're talking about open-source toolkits like Aquities, Microsoft's FairLearn, and IBM's AI Fairness 360. These are all designed to help developers find and fix bias in their AI models, making fairness a core part of the process.
So, here's where we land. GeoAI is without a doubt a revolutionary tool. It gives us this incredible power to see our world more clearly than ever and to start tackling our biggest challenges. But all that power comes with a huge amount of responsibility. The real question isn't what the tech can do, it's about how we decide to guide it to build a world that's fair for everyone.